Have you ever felt like you gave a man everything and all he did was take you for granted? Isn't it frustrating when he plays it cool, thinking you'll be around no matter what? Well, what if I told you ignoring him the right way can actually shift the balance of power in the relationship back into your hands? Which is why on today's show, we'll be discussing 10 steps to ignore a man in a way that hurts him. That way you can stop begging for the bare minimum and finally watch him chase what he thought he'd never lose. For point number one, we're going to discuss identifying. Before we even start this process of ignoring him and ignoring him properly, we need to help you be able to identify what it is that you're actually trying to accomplish here. Now, there's two main possibilities that you could be trying to accomplish. There's nothing wrong with either one of those possibilities, okay? The first possibility you could be trying to accomplish is you really just want him to feel the pain of losing you or not having access to you, okay? I'm not gonna say you're a bad person because someone caused you pain and you wanna cause them pain in return. Nothing wrong with that. But if that's your outcome, that's your desired outcome that you want to happen out of the situation of ignoring him, okay? Then we need to make sure that we identify this is what you're shooting for, because you're going to change your strategy and your approach to ignoring him and the way that you ignore him and the things that you'll do in the process of ignoring him, depending on whether your outcome is going to be pain or the second outcome, which I know is what most of you really want deep down inside, is for him to feel pain, yes, but you want the pain to trigger him into taking action and fixing it, okay? Very important. When we are ignoring this guy, we identify what is our desired outcome. Because when we identify and be honest with ourselves that we don't just want him to hurt, we don't just want him to feel pain, but we also might want him to fix things and change things, now we're even in a better position to be able to have success and see success in the way that we deem success to be. Point number two, we're going to talk about triggers. Now, the reason I want to discuss this is because, see, remember, point number one was about you identifying what is your end goal. And once you identify what your end goal is and you're honest about what that desired outcome is, now we can start operating underneath that desired outcome. So for this here, if let's say for the sake of example, you're in the position where I'm pretty sure most of you are, where you don't just want him to feel pain, you want him to feel pain and then actually try and fix it or take some sort of action towards apologizing or making this better, right? You have to know within yourself, okay, I don't just want him to reach out to me. I also want him to reach out to me in a particular way. So you have to say to yourself, okay, I want him to fix this and I'm only going to respond to certain trigger phrases or certain trigger actions because I need to help him make a correlation between what is works for me, what makes me happy, and when will you get and receive my energy, okay? So let me give you an example for those of you who are still like, what? For example, let's say your desired outcome is you want the guy to fix the situation, right? He reaches out to you and sends you a message in the time frame that you're trying to ignore him. And he says, hello, just literally hello, or hey, what's up? What are you doing? Whatever the kids say nowadays, right? You're not going to respond to that. Okay. This is not going to work because him reaching out and just saying hello is not addressing the situation for your desired outcome. Remember, you want him to feel pain and then you want him to take action towards fixing the problem or the issue. Him just reaching out to you and saying hello is not doing that, okay? And we're trying to attack this in a very important way. Him also saying something like I just mentioned, what are you doing? Like the kids say, that's not gonna work. Meaning that's not gonna get a response from you, okay? We're gonna kind of go through things that are not gonna get a response. Hey, you wanna hang out, right? You wanna hang? No, that's not gonna work as well, okay? You're not gonna respond to that. Amongst all the other things that he could say, in the time frame that you're ignoring him, right? You're not going to respond to any of these things. The only thing you're going to respond to, right? The only thing that's going to trigger a response is when he reaches out and says one of two things. Either, why have you been ignoring me? I don't like this. It's upsetting me. Or he reaches out and says, I apologize for what I was doing. I was wrong about that. I shouldn't have done that. That was wrong of me, whatever the case may be, right? And has some sort of apologetic nature to the way that he's reaching out to you. If he does not address the fact that you've been ignoring him and that he doesn't like that, or he wants to speak to you, or whatever the case, something along those lines, or he doesn't apologize and say, hey, I'm sorry, I was wrong, I shouldn't have done that, I shouldn't have done this, you do not respond at all. Because anything outside of those two reach outs or outreaches are not going to benefit you for what we're trying to do. We want him to feel pain, and then we want him to fix it. So if he doesn't reach out in a way where he's ready to fix it, none of this is going to properly work, right? All of this, what are you doing, you want to hang, is not addressing the situation. You will only be triggered to respond when he begins addressing the situation, when he begins addressing the situation, not you. Point number 3, we're going to discuss social media. Very, very important that we do this right. When it comes to ignoring a man, we have to factor in how important social media will be to doing this absolutely correctly. Now, I'm going to mention to you an idea that might be unfamiliar to some of you who are maybe on the older side or just less technology savvy, and some of you might know about this idea, okay? There can be an addiction part of social media, especially as it relates to the guy that you're dating or seeing at the time. Because as you begin liking a guy more, you're going to start watching everything he's doing on social media more and more. And eventually you'll get to a point where you are like a small version of a stalker. You're like Joe from You, where you're looking at every single minute detail of everything he does, especially if you have that addiction monster within you, okay? What we want to do here is we need to address a couple of things. We need to stop you from watching his stories, okay? So you know how whether it's on Facebook, on Snapchat, on Instagram, people have stories that'll pop up every now and again. You can't be watching those. Because if we're properly going to set you up with being able to ignore this man, then you watching his stories is not going to set the right precedent. We need to make it seem like you've completely moved on with your life. You don't care about him. You don't think about him, but you're enjoying yourself. Not that you're mad about anything that's going on in between you guys, okay? If you go on Instagram or you go on Facebook, right, there should be a place. I wish I could show you guys on my phone. There should be a place in the top right corner or around that area where there's like 3 little dots, or for some of you it might look like this, right? Maybe under his profile somewhere, right? Sometimes it's like over here. On Instagram, it'll definitely say mute, right? On Snapchat, I believe there's an option, it'll say mute story, mute posts as well. On Facebook, I definitely know there's an option that says that. And on WhatsApp, it'll be the updates, okay? So I want you to go through all of the social medias that you have him on. I know it sounds so silly and so dumb. I promise it'll help you in the future. Every single platform that you have him on, you're going to go through and you're going to do the equivalent of muting him, okay? Why are we muting him? Because we're not going to watch him anymore, okay? Not even in the slightest, not even a little bit. No more watching what he's doing, who he's hanging out with, where he's going, nothing. If you're going to ignore a man and you want him to actually be hurting, you have to make him feel like he doesn't matter, not even in the slightest. For point number 4, we're going to discuss the things that you don't post. I don't want to get emotional. I don't want to get mad here. I have seen so many mighty, amazing women follow the strategy so well, so amazing, so good up until this point. And then you lose everything that we've been working for together to accomplish your outcome, which is him feeling hurt, feeling pain, that he wants to make a change. Please don't do this. Don't sabotage yourself this way. Do not post any subliminal quotes, nothing about your relationship with him that could be implied, like it sounds like it's about your relationship with him, or that sounds like it's about what the situation you're going through with him, or what you've experienced around him, or what you're upset about. Don't post no quotes, okay? If you're a quote queen and you're like, oh, but Tomisin, is this quote appropriate and that quote not appropriate? Which one? Don't post none, okay? If you're questioning it, don't post it. If you post quotes all the time during this time period, don't post no quotes, okay? That way it can never be implied or confused on what that quote is about or what it's supposed to mean, okay? The reason I'm saying this, as I know some of you are thinking, oh, this is so funny, this is it's so serious. Because when you post these quotes, you're not accomplishing your actual goal here, which is to make him feel ignored, make him feel like he doesn't matter, make him feel like he's irrelevant. The moment you get on your social media and you start posting quotes that are clearly about him or subliminals towards him or about your situation with him, he's going to start saying, oh, She does care. She does like me. She's mad, but she's mad in the way where if I apologize and I D her down, she'll be fine. She'll be fine. She'll be fine. This is not what you want. You don't want him feeling like he has a safety net. You don't want him feeling like you're bothered and he could get out of this, or you're bothered and you'll get over it, right? You want him feeling like you've actually moved on. When you're actually done with the guy and you actually break up with him, do you start posting quotes on your story? No, because you're actually done with him and you're actually moving on. There's no need to. When you're kind of in between, when you're kind of in the middle, that's when you start doing all that quote stuff, okay? So no quotes. So I'll even put in quotations here. This is not a joke, okay? I really mean this. I go deep into this type of stuff when we talk about relationship, not just the common ground, okay? I'm actually Gen Z, so I know what we're actually doing. That includes things like Justin LeBoy quotes. A lot of you know what I'm talking about when I say Justin LeBoy. Those of you who are on Instagram a lot know what I'm talking about when I say Justin LeBoy. If you don't, you go on Instagram, you look up Justin LeBoy. He's always literally his entire Instagram page is just quotes for women, literally structured for women to post that is like a subliminal, okay? That's literally the entire page. It's got like 5 million followers, right? Don't post none of that, right? All those white backgrounds with the black text, black backgrounds with the white text, you know what I'm talking about. No video subs is when you take a post, you watch it, and it's kind of about your situation. You're a guy, right? The things that you've been through or what you're upset about. You're like, oh, this perfectly applies to me in my situation. So you click post on my story, or you record it, or you post it from TikTok to your Snapchat, from TikTok to your Instagram, or it's an Instagram reel, and you put it up on your story because you're thinking in your mind, oh, when he watches this, he's gonna know this is secretly about him, or he's gonna know that I'm sending him a message through this video because this video applies to me and our situation. Don't do it. No TikTok reposts, because we have to understand, right? Let's have an honest conversation here, okay? I love you, I care about you, I want you to succeed. But we have to be honest with ourselves. Why would we purposely repost a TikTok that we feel applies to our situation? Because subconsciously, you secretly, deep down in the recesses of your heart, you want him to be so like interested in what you're doing that he goes to your TikTok profile to look for answers and goes to your repost to try and see if anything you reposted applies to him. Because secretly in your mind, you're thinking, maybe if he's stalking me as much as I stalk him, then when he goes into my repost, he'll know what I'm really upset about. He'll know how to fix it. He'll know what to do based on those TikTok. Stop. Point number 5, the Hangouts. We want to make sure if you're ignoring him, you're actually gone from his life. So we need to be honest with ourselves about how probable is it that we might run into him at these other places. Because if we run into him and we're trying to ignore him, it's not having the same effect when we're constantly seeing him every day after the day we decide to ignore him. Especially if every day after the day we decide to ignore him, we see him out and then we have a conversation with him or say hello to him because we're too scared to like just actually ignore him in person. It just messes everything up. So this is what we need to do here, right? Where does he spend his time? Okay? So you need to ask yourself, at the gym, do we go to the same gym? That's a place where me and him could run into each other. So for the time being, right, for the time period in which I'm going to ignore him, I might have to start going to a different gym. Or at the very least, I might have to start going at a different time to the gym, a time that I know he usually doesn't go. For example, if your guy loves to go to the gym right in the morning, and you know that from around that 7 a.m. to that 10 a.m. time, he's usually in the gym, and that's when you guys usually see each other in the gym, you make sure you go at night, at the very least. If not, go to a different gym. I know going to a different gym is a little bit harder, right? But you go at a completely different time than him. If he likes to frequent at a specific bar or a specific club that you know he likes to go out with his boys all the time, and that's a spot that you regularly see him at all the time, or you stumbled across him there before, or you just know he likes to frequent there, you avoid that bar like the plague, or that club like the plague, or whatever that hangout spot is like the plague. Avoid it for the time that you're ignoring him. Because remember, we want him to feel like he has no more access to you. Absolutely none. Same thing with the store, right? If there's a particular store you know he goes to often, that you guys see each other or you've met there before, avoid that. Go to a different store. Find a different place to go to get your groceries or to get or purchase your items or do your shopping, right? The reason I say this, I know this sounds like so much extra work, but I promise you, I'm telling you this for a reason, because I know the type of things that can happen in the process of you trying to ignore a man that are things you might not prepare yourself for. And in the process of you being unprepared for them, you'll be like, damn, I had a strategy to ignore him that consisted of me never seeing him. Now I'm seeing him and I don't know what to do, right? Where we should have been thinking about that beforehand. If you go to the same gym as the guy that you're trying to ignore, the chances of you seeing him there are like almost 100% at some point. So what are you going to do when you see him there and now he's trying to have a conversation with you and address you? You're not going to get done what we're trying to get done, okay? Point number 6 is about free time. There's a timeline of events here that we're going to be doing this ignoring for, because you only have 2 possible outcomes, and at some point you need to decide which outcome it's going to be. For free time, we need to make sure that in order for us to do what we're about to do, it's very sneaky, it's going to sound very bad. For the next 2 weekends, precisely, we're going to make sure that you have things to do, okay? This is where it's going to get dark a little, not dark, but it's going to get not what your therapist would tell you to do, okay? So for the next 2 weekends, you're going to find your friends or family or both, and you're going to make sure that for the next 2 weekends, on the Friday and on the Saturday, that you have something to do that requires you to go outside of your house. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's gardening. I don't care if it's apple picking. I don't care if it's wine tasting. I don't care what it is, okay? Something organized with your friends that you have to go out and do, and that is going to be your plan for the next 2 weekends. You're going to organize something. The reason I say this, when guys feel like you're ignoring them, you're not speaking to them anymore, you don't care about them anymore, and then they see you out and about looking good, that is ultra painful as a man, okay? Because for us, the moment we see you looking good, we're reminded about how valuable you are, how desirable you are. And in our minds, the moment that we're reminded about how desirable you are, that's when we feel the most like, oh my gosh, I want to be with her again. I want access to her again. I want to talk to her again. Every time we see you looking good over and over again, it just hits us a little bit where we're like, damn, I wish I still had her or had access to her or was able to talk to her. I wonder why she's ignoring me, right? Especially when you're posting and you're looking good. So the reason that I want you for the next 2 weekends to allocate your free time to being able to go outside of the house and do something with your friends or with your family, I want you for the next 2 weekends to post yourself looking good. Because if he can see that you've been ignoring him, not answering his messages, but you're still going out and enjoying your life, that's going to be the ultimate dagger into the stomach, where he's going to feel like, oh, she really don't care. She really don't care. Not only does she not care, she going out, she looking good, and there's 100% chance that another guy is going to be hitting on her while she's going out and looking good, okay? It's one thing to just ignore a man, for men. It's another thing for you to ignore them while you're actively living your life. It sounds horrible, but men hate that. They hate that. They hate when you move on, but then you live your life and then you start glowing, you're looking good. They're just like, why are you looking good on my timeline, but you're not talking to me? Especially when he's already had access to you in the past before, and when he's become accustomed to always having access to you, that process is very painful for them, because they have to accept, you have to understand how ego works for men. They then have to accept that, oh wow, like I'm not as important to her as I imagined I was. Like I might have actually lost her. The girl that I thought would never leave me, I literally like, she'll never talk to me again. And this is like, that girl was a baddie. That's when he'll start thinking, I might have fumbled, right? I fumbled a baddie. That was a mistake of me. I shouldn't have done that. I made a mistake here. Maybe I should apologize, right? All of these things will start going through his mind. But they can only start going through his mind when he's reminded of how good you look, how sexy you are, how seductive you are, how everyone wants you. Now, you don't have to post anything super provocative, okay? That's not what I'm advising. I'm just saying post yourself looking good. It will remind him of how good you look, okay? Now, I know some of you are probably thinking to yourself, but Tomisin, I don't post that much. What should I do? Because I'm not a girl that posts 8 times a day, okay? We don't need you to post 8 times a day. A story post is enough. And one post of your outfit whenever you go out is enough. If you're someone who never posts at all, You can just take one day of the Friday or the Saturday or the Sunday, whichever day of the weekend you decide to go out, and post it one time of the week. We at least need him to see one time of you looking good while simultaneously not speaking to him and ignoring all of his messages, okay? So whatever your best asset is if it's your face, post that up. If it's your face and your body, post that up. If you just got it all going on, post whatever it is that is your best assets on whether it be Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, wherever you guys frequent. You know he is usually always on, right? So if you know he's a big Facebook guy, make sure you post it on Facebook. If you know he's a big Instagram guy, make sure you post it on Instagram. Wherever you know he spends a lot of time, that app, that's where you want to be posting that. I know it sounds very silly, but I promise you for men, it's a hit to the ego when they see you looking good and they know that you're ignoring them simultaneously, all right? Point number 7 is about mutual friends, because between you and the guy that you like and are talking to or ignoring at this point in time, you might have mutual friends with this guy. It's possible. Here's where a lot of women will go wrong in the process of trying to ignore him properly. You neglect to remember that when you ignore just him, it might spill over or leak into your mutual friendship, the friend group or the friend whatever that you're in with him or that also know of him. And now you're in kind of between a rock and a hard place, because you might be trying to actively ignore him and then he's part of this group of friends. So then they come around and then he's also around. And now you're supposed to be ignoring him, but he's here, so you don't want to make it awkward. So now you don't know what to do. So you just decide to talk to him and be nice to him, even though you're trying to ignore him so that he feels like he doesn't have access to you. But now he feels like he has access to you. Now you guys get drunk together because you're all out in a group. And now after you guys get drunk together, you're starting to feel the vibe a little bit. You miss him a little bit. So now when he asks you to go back to his place, you go back to his place. And then lo and behold, you sleep with him again. And we're back to square one. So this is why I say we have to be looking forward. If we're trying to ignore him, make him feel irrelevant, make him feel like you're unbothered, like he doesn't have access to you. We have to be thinking about everything. So mutual friends is a part of that. Do not allow your mutual friends with him to convince you to talk to him again. If you know that these mutual friends are also connected to him, and you know that there's a possibility that if they want to hang out, that this guy that you're trying to actively ignore will be there, for the time being, turn those hangouts down. Doesn't have to be forever, okay? But for the time being, while you're using this strategy, turn those hangouts down, so that for the purpose of when you're ignoring him, you don't want to be running into him constantly. If you're running into him constantly, it's going to not create the proper effect of you being completely out of his life. And for some of you, I know that some of you find it a lot harder to like ignore someone to their face who's actively trying to like be nice to you or say hello to you or ask you something or ask you a question. And I know some of you you can't do it when someone is right there. So I'm trying to help you avoid being in that position by having you think about this as well. It doesn't have to be forever, but you got to avoid these mutual friends for just a little bit if you want to properly ignore him. Give them an excuse of why you can't hang out, because we want him to really feel like, damn, she is gone. Like, I don't see her no more. I'm not around her no more. I can't find her. I can't get access to her no more whatsoever. Point number 8 is about events. Let me tell you something, okay? I'm going to get mad in a second. Do not wish him a happy anything. I don't care what it is. I don't care what it is. A lot of you make this very, very silly, trivial mistake. If you are ignoring a man and we're trying to make him feel pain, I don't care what event comes up. Do not respond to him. Don't wish him a happy anything. I don't care if he wishes you it like a million times. Don't respond to it, okay? This is not the time for you to be nice. This is not the time for you to be courteous. This is not the time for you to say, oh, I'm just wishing him back nothing. I don't care what you had planned. I don't care what you were supposed to do. I don't care. Nothing. He is supposed to be receiving radio silence from you. A lot of you make this mistake, especially when holidays comes up or some big event, right? It's the birthdays. It's the birthdays and like Christmas and New Year's, okay? And depending on your religion, it could be Easter, right? For some of you, Valentine's Day, it's always something. I know it sounds very trivial, but I promise you, these are the small things that happen in the process of you trying to ignore him, right? And doing what you're trying to accomplish, which is get him to feel that pain so he actually wants to make a change. And then you waste it all by doing this. Because I promise you, I've seen it happen a million times. You'll wish him a happy birthday, or he'll wish you a happy birthday, say, thank you, I appreciate you, how you doing? Oh, I've been good, how you been? I've been good. What are you up to nowadays? Oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Yeah, you know, I do miss talking to you. Yeah, I miss talking to you too. I would love to see you again. Yeah, maybe we should hang out next week. Yeah, maybe we can hang out next week. And then all of a sudden, we're back to square one. For point number 9, we're gonna discuss the timeline. Now, honestly, this should have been in the front of the show because this is actually such an important part to understanding how we're structuring this and what we're actually doing here. Do not make this mistake of thinking that you're ignoring him and, okay, if you ignore him and then let's say 3 months down the road, he decides to apologize for something he did 3 months ago or 3 months before, that now, okay, we're good now, we'll return back to each other's lives and I'll continue seeing him. No, we're not doing that. Make sure from the time that you start ignoring him, there is a countdown clock. You decide that you're gonna start ignoring him on this day, whatever day that is of the week or the month. And once you decide that you started ignoring him, meaning you're not going to respond to anything he says until he apologizes to you, until he acknowledges what he did wrong, or until he says, hey, why have you been ignoring me? I don't like this. I'm in pain, right? Once that clock starts, you have exactly 14 days. Okay, that's why I put 7 boxes here, right? So 14 days must pass by. Let's be very clear here. When you get to this day right here, it is done forever. Meaning in that 14 days, he has not addressed the situation. If he has reached out to you, it's only been to send you TikTok memes, Instagram memes, nothing serious, right? He's not asked about you. He's not checked up on you. He's not said, hey, I apologize for what I did. Nothing. If he has not reached out to you in the way that you know is actually going to benefit the situation and what we discussed about earlier, it is done forever. After that point, if he tries to reach out, radio silence, the situation's done. If he tries to apologize, even if he gets on bended knee, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I was so wrong, I did this, I did that, I shouldn't have done that, I'll treat you. Done. It's done. It's done. It's done. The reason I say that is because some of you make this mistake. You think, okay, well, if it happens in 1 month, what's wrong with that? Well, the problem with that is it puts you in limbo for too long, right? Because remember, you're ignoring him for the purpose of a particular outcome, which for most of you is that you want him to realize he was wrong and you want him to realize that he needs to make a change, and then you want him to actually take action towards making that change. I'm telling you this as a man. If a guy isn't bothered enough to address a situation with you in 14 days, he just doesn't care. Within 2 weeks' time, it's reasonable enough that no matter what emergency he could possibly have seen or had to go through in that 2-week time, there is no possible way that he couldn't reach out to you, he couldn't address you, he couldn't figure out, or at least begin figuring out the situation with you, no matter what he's been through during that time. In 2 weeks, he could find time to address it, okay? That's why I always give this blanket 14-day statement, because I know anything outside of that, he's just not serious. There's no emergency that could possibly fill up a whole 2 weeks that he couldn't possibly address you in that time. For point number 10, we're at the outcome stage. So now we can't be messing around anymore. The reality of it is, when you go through this whole strategy and you do it for those outcomes that we talked about, whether you want him to feel pain or pain to fix it, there's only 2 possibilities here. Either as he feels that pain, you ignore him. He decides to himself, she's not really that important to me. I don't care to fix things with her. I don't care if she's happy or sad or mad or whatever's going on in her life. And he just doesn't make any changes. He doesn't address you. He doesn't apologize for anything. At which point, you must accept the situation is over. I'm never speaking to him again. Even if I don't get closure, it's fine. I have my answer. Or within the 14 days, like we talked about, he actually does address the situation or say, hey, why are you ignoring me? I want to talk to you. I want to speak to you. I don't want this to be like this anymore, right? That is the only time in which you're going to give him a response. And your response is not going to be, I miss you so much. I want to be with you too. No. The reason I say You're either going to respond to him saying he apologizes for what he did, or asking you why you've been ignoring me, I don't like this, whatever the case may be, is because that's the only time that when you give him what's been upsetting you, or you give him the real reason which you've been ignoring him, now he has a decision to make. He came to you and asked you why you've been ignoring him because he doesn't like being ignored. So when you tell him, for example, oh, honestly, I didn't like the disrespect that you showed me. And so it's not a big deal. I'm not gonna beg for things. I just decided to move on. Then he has a decision to make where he says, oh, well, I don't like you ignoring me. And I am sorry about what I did. I want to make it up to you. I want to make this change. I can do this. I can do that. Because what I want for you is that if you end up getting back together, your only real response to him should be okay. Because when he comes to you and says, I don't like being ignored, why have you been ignoring me? And then you give him your answer very short and sweet within like 2 sentences, doesn't gotta be a paragraph. Because if he's wondering why you're ignoring him, his response can't be, oh, well, no, you shouldn't have taken it as disrespect. That wasn't disrespectful, da 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 da. If he wants to argue about it, then he can go back to being ignored. This is why I say when men come to you, it's always the best position for you to be in. Because then you don't have to beg for things. If he comes to you because he's uncomfortable with being ignored, then he better figure out how to fix it so that he doesn't get ignored. And if he doesn't figure out how to fix it, he'll continue being ignored. So it's like putting a kid on timeout. You want to figure out how to get out of timeout, then you figure out how to do better. If you don't want to figure that out, that's too much work for you, too painful for you, then you'll continue to get ignored. So you have to make sure that it's only one of those two outcomes. It cannot be both. So let's discuss this as a bonus point. When you ignore a man, I want you to be very aware of the possibilities when you're ignoring him, meaning that we're always looking forward to say to ourselves, what is possible to happen in the process of me ignoring him that could stumble me up and mess up my strategy here? Emergencies will get you messed up because you're a woman. So I'll be honest with you. Men begin to understand over the course of time, you as a woman, as an emotional being, being able to tug on your heartstrings is such a powerful way to control you. When a guy becomes desperate with the fact that you're ignoring him, especially when you're doing it well, you've been watching my show, so you know exactly what to expect from him. He will begin throwing out, we can call them Hail Marys, okay? To just hope that maybe one thing he'll say, one thing that just the way he'll say it will tug on your heartstrings and make you feel something that will have you like wanting to respond to him. And he'll finally get his response from you. He'll finally get you to address him. He'll finally get you to speak to him. And the crazy part about this is guys will use this before they'll even actually acknowledge the situation or try to apologize for the situation or try to change anything because they just want to have access to you. So they'll come up with the oh, I'm super sick. I have no one to take care of me. That's an example of one. I'm so lonely. I just got fired from my job and I have no one to talk to. And I just can't talk to anyone else about this. Not a friend, not a family member. It's so embarrassing. It sounds silly, but I promise you, when the guy that you like is telling you these things, it'll pull on your heartstrings and you'll start to feel like, damn, if I ignore him when he's telling me that, he's sick, when he's telling me that he has nobody, when he's telling me he wants to unalive himself, right? I should put that there. I should put that there. The reason that I'm bringing this as a little bonus point is because I want you to be forward thinking enough to expect that in the process of you ignoring this guy. Because you're really, like I said, you're only going to really be responding to like him acknowledging him doing something wrong and having some sort of desire to make a change or take some sort of action.